Hi, everyone, and happy Friday. It is time for another live session of our Heat Press for Profit podcast. And you know the two familiar faces next to me, Jenna Sackett and John Loucks.
Hey,
Now,
everyone.
we are going to do a quick recap of the Apparel Decoration Summit. But as we are letting everybody come in, join us live, make sure you tell us where you're tuning in from, your name, and of course, your company name. And of course, if you are catching this on replay, wherever podcasts are streamed, thanks so much for tuning in there. So, Jenna, John, before we kind of jump into the events of what the Apparel Decoration Summit was, what was your kind of overall take of the event in terms of shifts, trends, anything that really caught your attention with what customers were saying, or of course, other vendors?
For me, we kind of were chatting about this a little bit before we dove in, but I think the technology and trends that we saw in the soda report that they did has just really solidified and confirmed everything that we've been talking about in the past year or two. And that is the integration of direct to film and other digital print technologies, kind of allowing sales to expand for a lot of print shops and heat printers.
John, what about you?
Yeah, the same thing. Like the SOTA report, for those that don't know, SOTA would be what State of Decorating Apparel
Yep.
report. So the stuff that was coming out of there, I think it's for this event. It's weird because screen printers and decorated apparelists and stuff like that don't really notice or get worried about where the state of decoration is going, right? And to see the industry of where it is and where digital is at, and just coming to the forefront, and whether screen printing is there, like all that information is so important and so eye-opening to actually get it in one place and see it, right? And listen to other people in the industry, important people in the industry, right? Big decorators, really voicing their concerns and where they're at. It was great.
I thought, well, first, for anybody that doesn't really know what we're talking about, the Apparel Decoration Summit is an invite-only event hosted by Apparelist and Printing United, or NAPCO. Am I correct on that? That's all, like kind of all three as one. And the goal of the event is to really have high level conversations and really just kind of tap into what's going on in the industry, whether it is pros, cons, upcoming trends. And the SOTA report is, I think there were 76 people that had taken and answered all of the questions to kind of grab all of these trends and research with what's going on in the industry, from equipment to growth to overall projection, where their focus is in terms of decoration. So it's a really great way to kind of deep dive, and no matter how big your business is, to really make that connection and see, okay, maybe I am feeling closer to this type of business, or I'm actually wanting to project myself to go here. And it kind of just verifies, I think, any internal feelings, whether it is good or bad, and however you want to shift. And so as they're talking about it, the SOTA, which is the trend report, really just kind of eye opens, maybe kind of what we think is going on in the industry, even though we've got our hands in many different pots, but also to actually have the verification from other businesses saying, yep, this is exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, there were a lot of valuable perspectives shared. And I think that is the piece that everyone needed, to confirm, no matter what type of print shop you are, you could be doing a ton of direct embroidery and a ton of screen printing, but the different perspectives there were just confirming, by implementing more digital, here's how my sales have trended. Here's how I've been able to increase my bottom line. Here's how I've been able to add print on demand to my service, right? And so I don't know, just being able to see all the perspectives like highlighted, because like you said, we can assume as stalls who is all things heat printing that this is how things are going to trend. But when you have the confirmation, it's like, okay, so everything we have been working so hard towards is working. It's great.
John, with talking to customers, being in front of the customers, continuously for several years, we're getting those trend reports and really kind of diving into the numbers and what we're seeing in terms of shift of equipment, shift of business, margins, profit, growth. Was there anything that was really shocking to you that you heard from the report that you already didn't know just talking with customers every single day?
I don't think it was something that I learned that just wasn't there. It was just a reassurance that it is there, right? And getting some backup to what we've been saying for so long, right? You step into retail and you're seeing all this heat print and all this decoration and all this full color, right? And how do the decorators like bring that in? I think one of the topics at one time later on was, DTF, do we bring it in? And you see that from that soda report that, there's so much digital, like Jenna said, so many things that are full color, so many things that are print on demand, so many things that are, getting away from one color in just in time printing. And how do you accomplish that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And low stock numbers, not bringing all the garments in or not running 2,000 pieces, and seeing that people are really concerned about, where their monies and where their investments are tied up at. Do they tie them up in stock? Do they bring the equipment in for just in time stuff? So all that kind of sticks out and just reassures us in what we say on an everyday basis, right?
Yep.
And makes people feel good about the decisions they are making to find transfers, you know what I mean, to do that digital and not try to screen print 500 pieces or lower their minimums or print on demand. Like, that topic is huge everywhere you go. And that soda report just really, just defines of what that should be in your business.
I thought it was really interesting because for me, one connection I made with a lot of the conversation was still finding efficiency and making sure that no matter what you're doing, you're being as efficient as possible. And if that meant, adjusting your screen printing equipment to heat printing equipment, or growth going from, instead of adding automatics, we're going to add more presses, just whatever it was. I thought the conversation was still very heavy in efficiency. And I also thought that last year there was a lot of talk in efficiency as well. Was there anything else that you felt like was kind of highlighted without specifically highlighting it? Because print on demand, right? As long as you're doing it efficiently, then it can be successful for you. But if you're not doing it efficiently, then it's going to be a pain.
Well, I think that there's a lot of different ways you can look at efficiency in a business or in a shop, right? And I think that the first thing you can look at is production, but you also need to look at some of the other avenues in your business that could be more efficient. And whenever they discussed more of like the business growth strategies, and it was the gentleman from Young One who has like 9 facilities in different countries, and I apologize, I cannot remember his name, but he did a great talk on being more efficient and being able to track your revenue growth and taking your business from 5 million to 15 million. I think that was like his big thing, was how to be more efficient in that aspect. And I think that can be easily overlooked in a lot of business, because bottom line is, if we're running a production facility or we own this apparel decoration businesses, we're not accountants. And one of the biggest thing was, making like a banker your best friend or your best business partner, because that's going to help make things a little bit more efficient so that you can grow and not get stuck at that 5 million once you reach it. Right. So there's a lot of different ways to be efficient. And I think that heat printing allows that. And I think that Fulfill Engine allows that, which I'm sure we'll dive into a little bit deeper because that was a big conversation. But those business growth strategies should not at all be overlooked. And I think that that's something that we easily overlook because we're so heavy on the production side. So he hit on some amazing points for that.
Yeah, Jenna, that was Jeffrey Young, I think was his name, right? He did a good job of outlining what's next in business, and by the time you hit 1 million, you should have these things, and by 5 million, you should have these things. And I was surprised at some of the, the way that was outlined, that you should have an accountant and you should have these people under you and you should have it. So it was a good job. You did a good job, and that was some great information there.
So we had a lot of conversations. There were panels, there were individual conversations like the gentleman that you guys just talked about. We were able to break out into case studies. And then we were even able to have kind of one-on-one conversations. When it came to the panels, I think that's always a great way to get different perspectives. And even if they can be polar opposites, it's still great to kind of see this connection between two people, almost kind of talk it out in a sense to, you can still be a stickler and know what you want on one side, but just hearing another perspective, I think always allows for growth. And one thing that I thought was quite interesting, or at least a statement that was made, was from Don Whaley, where he said, you can have, this won't be verbatim, but it was like, you can have a powerful engine, but if you don't have the vehicle to get you there, then the engine becomes, basically obsolete. And I think that is huge. And I love metaphors. And
I was getting ready to say,
I'm like, I eat that stuff up because I immediately knew what he was talking about. If my brain is going 90-0 and my body's not taking in what my brain is doing, then they're not working together that day. And it's the same thing for business. If you're constantly busy, but you don't have the right people, then it's the same thing with having the right people, but then you don't have the business to keep them or, keep them growing as employees. So I thought that was pretty cool in terms of just the conversation. And that was actually said at one of the panels. Yeah,
I think the panels were pretty impactful because not only did we have some of our industry leaders up there that are in it day in and day out, but we also had customers, right? Like people that are actually running these facilities, and they're giving their perspective as well. And I think one of the big ones that continues to be a significant focus, because our industry is a large part of this problem, and it is sustainability. And it's crazy how, we're trying everything we can to create a better impact on it. But no one really seems to have the one answer to really be able to fix it outside of being able to do more made to order or print on demand, so that you're not printing a bunch of stuff that ends up, in the ocean or wherever it ends up. Right. Yeah. But it's just, that's one thing I'm really interested in seeing how it evolves, so that we're still able to be profitable, so that we're not implementing a bunch of stuff that costs a lot of money to be able to produce. Right. So it's just interesting to see that conversation continue to grow. And there's still really no one size fits all solution. So I'm interested to see how that impacts us a year from now, 2 years from now, because there was a lot of feedback from not just, Corny or Alpha Broder or Josh at Stalls, but also from Stakes and a few other panelists. So I think one person said that it's going to impact us and how we see everything being done now by 2025. So I'm interested to see where this conversation leads us.
Yeah, I think the conversation on sustainability has been going on, I feel like maybe publicly in our industry for a couple of years. Like, I don't feel like it's been, a high topic of conversation, but Jenna, I know you've had several education classes on sustainability at a lot of our, industry trade shows. And I found it was really interesting. Jed had a great point. You can be sustainable in your practice, but if you are printing shirts that are only going to be used one time, or people are just not going to want to wear them over and over again, you're back to the problem of having these garments that are just sitting. And I think that's, again, I love perspectives, and that's a perspective that I know I have thought about was, okay, let's create garments to where we're not wasting or overproducing, or let's try to be as efficient as possible and not have errors, right? But then what happens when that garment goes into the person's hand and they wear it 1, 2, 3 times, and then boom, it's done. And if the entire garment, including the print, is not eco-friendly or sustainable, then doesn't that product just kind of become a moot point? Like it's no longer sustainable. So that's just one thing that I was like, okay, Jed. That's a nice little pivot on that. Let's talk case studies. So I had a lot of great feedback from those that got to attend the case studies and said that they just loved it. And the biggest impact was being able to have the comparison samples. John, do you want to give us just a little bit overview of kind of the point of case studies?
Yeah, so I think in the apparel list, there's 4 different tracks, right? And I don't know exactly. I think there's like a screen printer track, an embroidery track, a decorator. So there's 4. I don't exactly remember. So the Stalls case study was interesting because Josh had built all these realistic samples of the difference between, direct decoration and then stuff like transfer decoration, right? And where it all fits into your business, where it all fits in your inventories, the sustainability of it all, which was phenomenal. And what was surprising is when people got to grab and touch these different things, they couldn't tell the difference, right? So, which was really cool. And you need that, that case study or that really direct comparison of the same art, right? In the same shirt, in the same everything. And I think that's what's important about the case studies, right? In general, is really getting down to the nuts and bolts of the differences. I didn't see anybody else's case study because I was only privy to ours, but do you guys know what the other ones were?
I don't. And the list I had, I believe, only just stated the businesses that were doing the case studies, not necessarily like the topics at hand. But just from, networking with people outside of the event or while we were eating or through the breaks, I mean, people would just come up and say like, oh my gosh, that was great. My favorite was the comparison. I don't even know if we would have needed a presentation. I feel like we could have just handed products and been like, find the difference or tell us which is what. And people just really, really responded to that. And from I think in terms of a trade show or an education perspective, that's something we don't always do, is show a comparison, and not for it to be a bad, like, oh, this is pro, this is con. It's really just to help educate people that, again, whatever you think you know about heat transfer products, if you are not updated to this point in time, remove everything out of your brain, because it completely changes by the year. It changes every 6 months, and it's always advancing. So
I love that you said that. Like, we are advancing. Like, this is an advanced technology. I think there was an attendee that had said, I just don't want my customer to feel like they have vinyl on their shirt from like the 80s. It feels like an 80s. And I was just like, how are we still, why is our mind still recognizing vinyl as something from the 80s when it has been the most advanced, the heat transfer has been the most advanced technology in this industry. It's the one that's moving everything forward. Now, there's a lot of other digital products that have don't get me wrong. I'm not saying heat printing is like the most advanced, but it is up there with the rest of them whenever we're talking digital, right? So I think that, the case study where we showed the comparison, I think that was an eye opener for a lot of people, because whenever they think about heat transfer for whatever reason, they're still thinking of that heavy sticker like vinyl on shirts from the 80s. And it still blows my mind that we hear those references.
You're right. Like I completely agree with you. Like embroidery is the same. You get difference in technology of how you digitize and stuff like that. But embroidery is embroidery, right? Screen printing, the inks change a little bit, but screen printing is screen printing. And then you get into, and you're right, maybe you have some stretchability, stuff like that. But heat printing, you got different inks, you've got stretchability, you've got adhesive change all the time, right? To stick to all these different fabrics and garments. And then you've got scorching. Like, I think you hit it right on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
Like it shouldn't be stuck in the 80s. So,
40 years ago.
And you know what? Yeah. And that's why we attend these things, because people do need to be educated. Mm-hmm. There has always just kind of been this trend in the industry where it's screen printing and embroidery are the best. If I need to have heat printing for a small job, I'll have it just in case. And that has always been the trend for time. So, it's an uphill battle, but it's one that we're fighting, and we're starting to see results because we continue to show up and educate and show them that, there's a lot more than you can do than just onesie twosies with heat printing. We have facilities with heat press departments now that are completely taking over. People don't want to do DTG anymore. They're eliminating more screen printing. They're eliminating more embroidery because of innovations we've seen in the patch side of things, where they don't want to direct embroider hats anymore. They want to set up their shop with 360 IQs and do 13 times. That was the call out. Yep. Embroidered patch side by side with direct embroidery. When we compare how long it takes, you're getting 13 times more output. Obviously, what were we talking about earlier? Efficiency. Yeah. Obviously, people are going to want to go that route. So again, it's all about education. So luckily we can show up and educate, right?
It's my favorite thing. You teach me, I teach you. That's how this partnership relationship works. Okay, so to wrap up, I want to hear, you both had different customers come to you with one-on-ones. So each kind of had different conversations, and there were even at times where the same customer wanted to see both of you. And even though you were at different tables, it still allowed for different conversations. What was something that you took away, John, from your one-on-ones? And then Jenna, it'll be the same question for you, because I'm really curious to see if there is a difference or a trend, or if it was really kind of just variety.
Yeah. So, what was amazing, it's going back to that boardroom, right? Josh's presentation in the boardroom, sitting down with these companies. And I really tried in my meetings, I really tried to focus on the business side of things and where their next move was and what they wanted to do next and what their shops were missing, right? And to go back a little bit on the one-on-ones, these were appointments that were set by the customer or set by us that we could sit down for 20 minutes, I believe. And really talk about, application in the future and products and a lot of that stuff. So I think the topic of my conversation was that, Jenna mentioned it, that alternative to embroidery, right? Patch. So it was kind of made its debut there that nobody had seen yet, and setting the two side by side and really talking through the efficiencies of that really surprised me, because people didn't realize that they can order the stuff in and just press it away and get away with it. So, and then the other thing about the one-on-one meetings that really stuck out is where people future, or where these decorators futures of business are really going, and how, we're back to that, one piece out and print on demand kind of thing, and really them finding solutions. Or I'm sorry, that one piece fulfillment. Did I freeze on you for a second?
A little bit.
Yeah.
You said
froze on me. I seen
solutions, and it was like,
yeah. So solutions to that, print on demand piece again. So there was a lot of discussion on the one-on-ones of efficiency, heat printing, how they bring it in, how they show it, how they order in, stuff like that, which was phenomenal.
Jenna, what about you?
Yeah, I want to say, I think that, the case study allowed for our conversation to be more towards like benefits and challenges of what they have implemented with DTF. Because the overall consensus at the summit was everyone's doing direct to film now, whether that is through ordering our Ultracolor Max transfers, or they have brought in a direct to film printer, or maybe they're doing both. So just trying to figure out, what benefits and challenges they're experiencing with print on demand through Fulfill Engine and with direct to film. And then providing actionable advice, right? What are some next steps that you can take to become more efficient here? How can we help? So a lot of our discussions were really tailored to that. But one of the common denominators through all my meetings were, all right, we've got to figure it out with direct to film. The next stages for us are implementing more heat transfer technology through patches, right? So they've got direct to film down. Things are going well for them. There are a few like nuances through print on demand as that continues to grow that we're trying to overcome challenges with, but they really want, technology trends. Their customers want more than direct to film sometimes. So they were extremely impressed with a new product that we featured just to kind of get feedback that I think when we launch it within the next 60 to 90 days is going to be a huge hit. So keep an eye out, guys. That'll be coming soon, but they absolutely loved it. And I think showing them all of these different finishes that they can get through the power of equipment they already have, that was the big topic, right? They were like, we want to do more embroidery. We want to show more PVC. Chenille was a big hit, and so was the felt and twill sample that we showed for our Pro Stitch product, or Sport Stitch, Sport Stitch product. So I think that when we talk about all of these new technologies and all these market trends, there's a strategy discussion that comes next of, okay, how do I implement this in the best way? So we talked a lot about that with these guys, what samples are possible, how to update their showroom. So things like that. And those are my favorite conversations to have. I love talking about trends. John's like, oh no, I want all the business. What's next? And I'm like, give me all the trends.
Yeah, I want to know where we can grow your business at, but I guess that falls back into trends. So
yeah, it's all, and that's the bottom line is they're diversifying.
Yeah,
and that was another really big topic throughout this summit.
Yep.
How do I diversify so that it makes sense? And what customers do I target so that I can get more product out there, right? So I think that there was so much advice given here that it's going to be overwhelming for the attendees. So our follow-up is going to be crucial.
Yeah. So I actually had a lot of questions just in and out based on quality, or can I actually use the same transfer on a sweatshirt, or can I put this on a t-shirt? And that's still, even though I eat, sleep, and breathe, I feel like heat transfer these days, it's still interesting that the question is about, can it do this versus what the adhesive is. And this is actually a really good question that we had in every single case study, which was, hey, actually, how durable are the press-on patches? Is the adhesive really that strong where you don't need to top stitch the patches? And, for me, it was like, yes. It is a simple answer, but I know one thing that we discussed a lot was making sure that you had the right equipment. So in this particular case, we strongly encourage having upper and lower heat. The 360 IQ is perfect for that. And then also quality is important when it comes to any type of material that you are heat applying onto any substrate, garment, accessory, and just pay attention to adhesive. So Jenna, John, do you guys have anything on that?
Yeah, this is something we are always going to get a question on because not all adhesives are made the same. That is the number one thing we say, right? Like, not all heat transfers are made the same. Not all adhesive on patches are made the same. Ours is amazing. Okay. You don't need a top stitch. However, sometimes you don't want to send something out the door with that reassurance. So if you need that extra stitch, you want to take the time to do it, by all means, if it's going to make you feel better about giving the end product to your client, do it, but you don't have to. But we will help you with that stitch. Like, we'll send you a sew file, we'll put a sew channel in there if it's something you absolutely need, or maybe it's something your customer is requesting. But the adhesive is a 3M adhesive. It is extremely durable. It's not something you need to worry about coming off. 50 plus washes is where we test it, right? Except leather, obviously.
Yeah. So one of my favorite things to do, for this question is whenever you have patches like that, and when we passed it through the boardroom, everybody is trying to pick at it and trying to pull on it, and then you get that it's not coming off, right? And it's just over and over, peel, or somebody trying to peel and pick it, and it just stays, right? I think you hit it right on the nail. If it's applied correctly, there's not going to be any issue. I think we did a myth thing a while back where they were trying to pull it off with pliers. And
there is a video on YouTube.
Yeah, I think the key thing is what John just said. Follow the instructions that is given to you with the patch. It'll have your heat, whether that's top heat only, top bottom. It has your pressure, your time. Make sure you're using the right heat press. You'll be fine. It'll stay on, but just make sure you're following the instructions. It is not the same adhesive. I know that we just got a comment in from YouTube. It's not the same adhesive as the thermo adhesive we offer online. It's a different adhesive entirely. The thermo adhesive that we do offer, that's going to be more for our foils and anything light like that. So I think it's used with our Permatwill as well.
Yeah, there's a fabric adhesive. That thermo adhesive is like a fabric adhesive. If you ever buy something that you want to cut out and put on an applique, that's where that thermal adhesive really comes into play, right? Not to be mistaken with CAD cut adhesive. So 2 different ones. So make sure you're ordering.
I'm sorry. Are we confusing you guys?
How many adhesives do we have? You get an adhesive. You get an adhesive. That's what it's like for all the different types of textiles. So to wrap up, for anybody that's listening, tuning in, customers, education, people that attend trade shows, is there any piece of advice that you have for them that you feel like you either saw or took from this Apparel Deco Summit? I'll tell you mine. Mine is keep your options open. I think there were a lot of large screen printers that attended the Apparel Decoration Summit, and a lot of them were like, okay, teach me what I need to know. What transfer do I use when? How do I figure all of this out? And that's something I took for it. So if there's anything I can say, it's just stay open. Just stay open as best as possible.
I think for me, it would have been from Jeffrey. And, you forget that you can't be involved in every single part of your business all the time. And in order to grow, you need to get the right people and hire the right people underneath you so that they can manage some of that day-to-day and little tasks so you can continue to, grow and do the more important stuff. Because I think people forget about that. They always want to be involved in their, in every part of it. And you just got to get the right people in and the wrong people out, right?
Yep.
In a timely manner. So that was big for me. You forget the little things, and that's one of those little things that's so important.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, there was a lot of forward thinking perspectives. This is a rapidly growing industry or market space, whatever you want to consider it. And there is a wealth of information out there. But if you can just connect with one or two solid, whether that be groups or other companies, mentors, align with someone in the industry that has this wealth of information and can give you good advice and stay connected with them. I would say this is one, like our industry is one that's always like giving information to others to help each other. I've never seen anything like it. Like everybody wants everyone to win in this industry, and it is incredible. But because there is so much information out there and there are a lot of people doing different things in different ways, just connecting with people that can help you grow for what makes sense for your business. I met so many great people at this summit. And it's just, I learned so much from them because they just have all of this knowledge. So, I think that can go a long way as an apparel decorator to be connected and be involved, whether that be listening to these podcasts, following the Apparelist, going to Printing United, and getting connected with these people on your own.
Agree. If you guys have any questions, you can go to the Apparel Decoration Summit.com. It's just a website if you want to check out some more information. Of course, you can follow Apparelist. You can check out Printing United. These are events and industry experts that we are always involved with. Cassie Green's been on the podcast. And of course, there is a lot of people to connect with, like Jenna said. So if you are not part of our Heat Press for Profit Facebook group, it's all the same word, on Facebook, go in there, join. There are a lot of different industry experts. And of course, there are brand new people that are joining every single day. We all get together. We all help out. It's a giant community. And I think the Deco Summit was definitely a perfect example of really kind of just what the industry community is really all about. And that's just coming together and figuring it out, locking arms, right? Like you can still have competitors, but a lot of people actually utilized each other to help grow. So that was pretty big. John, Jenna, thanks so much for being the guests, hosts, all of the above today. I appreciate it, taking time out of your Friday. And for those of you that have been tuning in live, thank you so much. If you're catching this on a replay, thanks again. And make sure you like and follow our channel so you always stay up to date with more information. Lisa Freeman said, thank you. Really informative. And I think this is a great one. So it's now worth looking into heat applied patches until I have a Stahl's IQ hat press. Fall.
I think it meant not.
Definitely not. Do it. Do it now. So, all right, guys, we will see you later and have a great Friday. Bye.
Bye, everyone.